Good evening. We're so glad to have you with us this evening. I have such an exciting show for you tonight, and I'm asking you to be sure you take down a lot of information, all the contact information, because you're going to have a lot of questions. We're going to be talking about TWV, and you ask, what is that? That's Together with Veterans. We're going to be talking about that in just a few minutes. At the end of the show, we're going to be talking about some information from NYE County School District. So I want you to stand by for that as well. But to start this show off tonight, I want to start off by introducing Leanne Luna. Now, you've seen her name around in so many different places, not only with Together with Veterans, TWV, but you've seen her do so many other things. And I'm going to ask her to describe some of the things that she's doing. But also in our studio tonight, even though she's not on camera, we have Linda Wright, and she's the facilitator for TWV. So she's here, and you're there, and we want to get right into it. So Leanne, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Tom.
We are so glad to have you with us. And Leanne, as I stated earlier in the introduction, there's so many things that you do in our community. How about telling our audience some of the things that you do?
I'm working with NYE Communities Coalition, and I am over the Mental Health Awareness Training Grant. And that grant allows us to bring to the community mental health awareness training such as adult and youth mental health first aid, safe talk and assist, and psychological first aid. And I have over 20 trainings planned for the summertime. So if you have an interest in youth mental health first aid, adult mental health first aid, and safe talk, please contact me at the NYE Communities Coalition at 775-727-9970, extension 204. And that will be posted again at the end of this recording.
Okay. No, she's already given you a lot of information already. But I want to ask her a couple of questions, like what is safe talk? And some of the other things I know is very popular in the community that people are signing up for. But I know you gave a phone number. So if you're interested in any of those training programs that she talked about, be sure to give her a call. Sign up for those classes. They're all free, and that's what they're there for. They're there for the community. But tell us something about Safe Talk.
Safe Talk is a suicide-specific training. It is 4 hours. I've been holding mine in the morning. But as the person over the grant, if you have a population of 10 people that want to come to the class, I can do it at your convenience and at your service, anywhere you want me to do it. It is suicide specific, and it teaches you how to approach somebody who's in crisis, having a mental health crisis, and it teaches you how to keep them safe and get them to help.
It's really important that you recognize that. So I would say to me, that's one of the most interesting classes, although she's got so many, and those are the others that she talked about. You want to run through those again, just so everybody knows what classes you're talking about.
Adult mental health first aid is an evidence-based program that has been proven to strengthen the community. It concentrates on adult mental health problems, so you'll get a definition of each mental health issue. And then it also teaches you how to approach somebody in crisis, keep them safe, and get them to help. And then youth mental health first aid, which is very important in our community. I really want to get to the parents of somebody who might be in junior high or high school. I'd love to have them come to the class and learn what might be the difference between regular adolescent development and what might be an adolescent in crisis. And I've got lots of trainers for that. If you've got 5 people that want to have a class, I will be there at your service. We'll pick a date and hold it.
Okay, give that phone number one more time, Leanne.
775-751, wrong. 775-727-9970, extension 204.
Okay, so be sure to contact her if you're interested in setting up any one of the classes or attending any of the classes. And again, suicide prevention is so important. but all the other classes are important as well. And she's been doing this for a while, and very popular classes in our community. And now that we're getting through the COVID thing, where we can come back together, it is so important that we pick up on all of these classes. I am just so proud of her and all the things that she's doing within our community and within Nye County. So that's all the things for Nye Communities Coalition. Is there anything else you want to add before we talk about Together with Veterans?
We have several classes happening at Nye Communities Coalition that are not my programs, but that are very, very important to the community. Eating Smart and Being Active is a class that is starting in June. So we had one last week because this is June 8th. You can come in on the second program and then continue for the 6 weeks through July 20th. It's on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 11:30. And the contact is the same number that I gave, and it is Tamerlan Taylor. And this is a good class for anybody who's interested, especially after COVID, being isolated for so long, who's interested in being eating smart and being active and getting new routines in, because they'll teach you how to be have new routines. And then we have car seat events. We don't have one particular that's happening, but if you if you have a car seat that needs to be replaced, or that you need a new car seat, we have no-cost car seats. A technician will inspect the one that you have, or be able to provide and replace the car seat that you have. And that is the same number that I gave, 775-77-9970, extension 236, and Marlena Porter is the person over that. And then we have chronic disease self-management, which is a 6-week program written by Stanford University. I love the chronic disease. I've been teaching this one too. And it is going to be on Wednesdays. It's starting July 7th through August 11th from 9 to 11:30. It's a wonderful class where people come together and share the resources that they have that they deal with their chronic disease with. Excellent class, favorite.
Excellent, okay.
We have diabetes self-management, and that is going to be starting, that's also Stanford written. It's 6 weeks. It's 2.5 hours a week. It's starting July 22nd. And both of these you'll contact Madeline on, and that's going to be madeline@nycc.org or 775-727-9970 for Madeline. And then we have Diabetes Prevention Program, which is a year-long coaching program. It's really, really good, yeah. So that's a really good one, and that's actually starting in October 12th. So you can get a hold of me for that one also. And then that's it.
Okay. Those are all the programs that she's talking about, and there are many others. So if you have any questions about any of those programs, please give her a call. I know you're writing this information down. I hope you are. And that way you can be sure to contact her when you have some other questions. At this time, though, because we're really here to talk about TWV, Together with Veterans. So, Leanne, what are you talking about when you say Together with Veterans? You know, we veterans like everything. We like to work together on everything. So what is this all about?
It's a community-based program that partners with rural veterans and the community agencies to provide veteran suicide prevention in the community.
Let me stop you there. Veteran suicide prevention in the community and any place else. So I know you're going to give statistics on suicides among veterans across our country, and I know it's still a number that we'd like to avoid.
It is.
So Together with Veterans is something that's really going to help everybody. So tell us more.
So WICHE, the Western Interstate Commission for Higher Education, has brought this program to us. It's based at NYCC. We have created a steering committee that's over 50% veterans. And what we'll do first is an assessment, and that community assessment will bring us what is needed in the community in order to do the activities that will prevent suicide.
How are you working this assessment?
We're going to have the steering committee bring us 5 people in the community who are willing to participate in the survey and assessment, and tell us what's happening in the community for suicide prevention, what's not happening in the community, the gaps, and then what's successful and what is not successful. So it's like a SWOT analysis.
Okay. And when you say you're going to have some people come in, these are professionals or non-professionals?
These are people in the community who are concerned about veterans, organizations that are working for veterans, organizations who work suicide prevention. It's whoever the steering committee has talked to who's interested in having an effect on veteran suicide.
And when is this going to start?
We have started the steering committee, and we're now currently training the people in the steering committee on mental health awareness. So they're taking the Safe Talk, the mental health first aid, and all of that. And then we're probably going to begin next week or the week after for the assessment.
Okay. It's so interesting that we have something that we're looking at trying to reduce or eliminate suicide among veterans. But I know you mentioned again Safe Talk that you have in the NYE Communities Coalition, the training program. And it's something that anybody interested in preventing suicide, regardless of whether it's veterans or youth or anybody else, it's something they need to look into. Mm-hmm. So tell us more about TWV.
We have a steering committee right now. So ahead of the steering committee is Linda Wright and Charles Dirk. They're facilitators. So that we have a meeting, they're going to be running the meeting for us. And then I am a coordinator, and so is Renee Thayer. So she's going to be, her and I are going to be taking care of the meeting minutes and coordinating stuff.
Okay. You know, I know we're running out of time in this session, and we're going to cover a lot more about TWV together with veterans in our next session. But I want you to be sure you copy down a lot of information. Be sure to contact Leanne if you have any questions at all. And this is what it's all about, in finding out and taking care of our veterans. We lose so many veterans to so many things, but suicide is something we really want to avoid. So come back and join us in our next session. Welcome back. We're so glad to have you back with us. And we're talking to Leanne Luna, and she's given us a lot of information about NYE Communities Coalition, as well as TWV, together with veterans, and talking about trying to eliminate veteran suicide. So I'm going to say again, Leanne, I'm so glad you're here this evening. Tell us more about TWV.
So I said before, it's a community-based program that partners with veterans and community agencies to prevent suicide, veteran suicide in the community. As one team, veterans and the community partners gain a better understanding of how to most effectively reach the veterans who are at risk for suicide. So the first phase, we formed the steering committee, which is about 50% veterans.
Okay.
So it is a veteran-based committee that will make decisions based upon the veteran culture and what's best for veterans in our community.
Now, Leanne, did you have any difficulty finding veterans that wanted to participate?
It took a month, but we had several very prominent people, such as yourself, in the community who are willing to step up and do the work needed in order to do the committee. So.
And you said it's more than 50% veterans. Mm-hmm. So of the people that are non-veterans, did you have any difficulty finding anybody to fill those positions?
No, we didn't. We opened it up to the veterans first, and we asked the veterans to bring people that they knew that were interested in suicide prevention for veterans in.
Okay.
So, and it's a fluid process. We're still, if you're interested in being on the steering committee, and whether you're a vet or not, we have to keep that population high, the veteran population on the steering committee high. But if you're interested in being on the steering committee as an organization that prevents suicide, that's still open. So.
who would they contact to be part of the steering committee?
I am the coordinator, so contact me
Okay.
at NYCC at 775-727-9970, extension 204.
Okay. So they can contact you for this, Nine Communities Coalition, or Together with Veterans.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting and muchly needed. It's something that we really need in our communities. Mm-hmm. So tell us more about TWV.
Our first activity working for the Western Interstate Commission for Higher Education, that's the organization over TWV, is to assess the community for what is working in the community as far as veteran suicide and what is not working. So the assessment is a SWOT assessment, and it asks the questions like what works well, how do we build on the strengths of the community as far as what's working well for veteran suicide, what might need improving and what's not working well, and what are the obstacles to getting these programs working.
When we talk about veteran suicide, how prevalent is it in our community?
46,510 Americans died from suicide in 2018, and this included 6,435 U.S. veterans. And so the average number of veteran suicides per day is 17.6 in 2018. And we've just been through a pandemic, so during pandemic or during a stressful time, you can expect mental health needs to expand by 20%. So we expect these numbers, unfortunately, to get worse because of the stress.
That's the worst part when you have a veteran that's been through so many things already, serving the country, and then they come back and decide to take their lives. I know there are so many different reasons as to why they happen, but we can be on the lookout for this and try to avoid it. I know several friends of mine here in Pahrump have been saved because of people that looked out for them to make sure that they were okay. And veterans tend to look out for each other, which is why I think we have, as it's called, Together with Veterans. Mm-hmm. You're working well with veterans. And
a lot of our program is peer-to-peer. So we will be doing a lot of peer-to-peer programming.
Okay.
Based on the needs of the community. And we always ask that if you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide, to contact the crisis line, and that is 1-800-273-8255.
Would you give that again?
1-800-273-8255. And there's even a veterans text line, 838-255.
Okay. And that's the crisis line in case you know of someone or you yourself as a veteran is having difficulty. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That is a national crisis line. Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's something, at least it's set up, and it's something we need. Mm-hmm. So, but we need everybody participating in this to help our veterans.
And so the planning with TWV involves reviewing all of the issues and the opportunities and to decide the best steps for promoting veteran suicide prevention locally here in Pahrump. So veterans are normally taught to shoulder responsibility independently for their role in the military, and this independence sometimes can lead to a disconnection or isolation. The program of TWV is about rebuilding connection throughout the veteran community. So examples of some of the programming are peer-to-peer activities involving young and old veterans, as they tend to stick to their own groups. And actually, a lot of the successful programming across the country mixes those groups together. So we're actually getting some really good mixing going on. So peer-to-peer is special because it restores the purpose that many vets do not find a greater sense of purpose that they had during their service. So they felt it before they were discharged, and so the peer-to-peer expands on their purpose.
Oh, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I said I wouldn't ask you any gotcha questions, but
I set myself up, didn't I?
and this may not be a gotcha question, but are you working with the veteran organizations? We have several in the area. Are you working with them as well to make sure they're part of this committee or part of providing input or something else?
So before the break, we went over that Linda Wright she's over the VFW, so she's our steering committee facilitator.
Okay.
Charles Dirth
DAV.
is,
We have DAV.
and you're also DAV. And so Charles Dirth is facilitating with her. Renee Thayer has worked very closely with Linda at the VFW and the DAV, so she's coordinating with me. And then we have you. We all know that you're famous for many, many things that are veteran-oriented. I can't even begin to start that list.
I know you mentioned Charles. Now, Charles is also with the American Legion as well.
Excellent, yeah.
So he covers that. So you've covered the VFW, the DAV, and American Legion. What about the Marine Corps League?
We have Terry Jenke. I don't know all of where they are, and he's DAV. We have Patrick Lazenby. We have Carl Jones. We have Kathy Gerard.
They're DAV.
And they're all DAV. And then we have Michael Tracy.
VA.
And he's with the VA. He's the social worker on the VA.
So we need to go out and recruit somebody from the Marine Corps League now.
Yes.
There you go. This is why we're on TV,
we
right?
have a lot of Marines out there.
Yes.
And Marines carry the brunt of the battle. We know that. So we'd like Marines as part of this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And then there's me and Stacy, who's also on the committee. And I think that's all besides our consultant from Wichi.
Now, you mentioned Stacy. A lot of people may not know who Stacy is, but everybody should know who Stacy is.
Tell
us who Stacy is.
Stacy is the CEO of NYE Communities Coalition, and she is our gem.
She is. She's involved in everything and provides a lot of support for many things in our community. So if you don't know who Stacy Smith is, you really need to get to know that name, because without her, many things would not happen in our community. But you see the ladies here today, when we talk about Leanne and Linda, that's what Linda Wright's name is all over the community. When we talk about different things that are going on, we contact Linda because we know she has some input into almost everything. Having Leanne as part of this as well has really helped us with the TWV, as that was a program that, as she stated, it started off slow, and then she grabbed the reins, and all of a sudden here we are, we're on TV talking about it because it is so important. And Leanne, I'd just like to thank you for jumping in and doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to training the community in mental health awareness. My grant runs until November. So again, it's youth and adult mental health first aid and safe talk, and then psychological first aid.
Okay.
And I can put those trainings on anywhere at any time. And the more I get in before August, the better. So.
Again, I know the community benefits from everything that you're doing. The veterans benefit from the TWV program that's together with veterans. So for those of you out there that are interested in any of this, be sure to contact Leanne and let her know that you're interested, not only in the TWV program, but any of the NYE Communities Coalition programs as well. There's so many out there, and there's got to be something that piques your interest. And we want you involved. We don't want you to miss out on anything that's going on. Leanne, before we close this session, is there anything else you'd like to cover?
Looking forward to developing this program in the community to see what type of activities can come out of our assessment that we're beginning next week. So if you have any questions or want to join the steering committee or help in the assessment, give me a call at 775-727-8255. 9970, extension 204.
Leanne, again, I'd just like to thank you, and I'd also like to thank Linda Wright for being here in the studio, because between the two of you, you've provided so much information, invaluable information for everybody, and I'm hoping that you're going to you've paid attention to everything that's been said, and you've written this information down, and you're going to contact Leanne to say, I'm interested in whatever. So be sure to contact her, and be ready for our next session when we talk about the NYE County School District. Welcome back. We're so glad to have you back with us. And for these two sessions, I have Linda Fitzgibbon. She's with NYE County School District, and she's got a lot of information, as always. That's why we have this show, to provide a lot of information to you, to make sure you're up to date on what's going on. And so, Linda, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me back again.
We're so glad to have you back, because every time you come in, you have so much information. And you tell us about what's going on in NYE County School District and the things that you're doing to make it better for our students, for our parents, for our community. So, what is your title? Tell us more about what that is all about.
So I am a grant site representative for the NYE County School District, which basically...
What does that mean?
Yeah, what that means, basically in a nutshell, is that there's several different programs that come under grant-funded programs with the district, and they put somebody in that position to be kind of like a program manager. So they give me the title of grant site representative.
Okay. So as the grant site representative, and you have these other programs, and obviously doing quite well, how long have you been doing these?
That's so funny that you should mention that. Last night I actually received my 25-year pen from the NYE County School District.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm very proud of that. It's a great place to work for. And so, yeah, so I started out with one grant called Even Start, and it eventually morphed into a pre-K program, which we got grant funding for our pre-K programs, which we'll talk a little bit more about later.
Yep.
And then we also got money, our grants for our McKinney-Vento Homeless Children's Program, which that's the name of the grant. We refer to that program as the Students in Transition Program. And then just recently, although there was no funding involved with it, we were tagged with the processing of our Fostering Connections program, which is to help our foster children in our school district. So the three different programs that is the our grant site representative umbrella are those particular three programs.
You know, again, it's so interesting. And it's interesting primarily because you're talking about taking care of our young people, our students, our children. I think everybody, as soon as they hear that, you know, it's almost like a tearjerker. I want people that are talking about taking care of our young people. And that's what you do so well. So when we talk about that, we're talking about students in transition, the homeless, and those are some of the things you want to talk about. So go ahead and tell us more about exactly what these programs entail.
Well, about 15 years ago, when President Obama came out with the ARA money, what has happened was the federal government came out, first of all, with the Mckinney-Vento Act. And that was a very interesting way of how that came about, because what was happening is our children would go to school. If they were homeless, they would go to our school, and I don't mean I'm talking nationwide. They'd go to our schools, and they'd want to register for school. And the first thing that we would ask them is, do you have a birth certificate? Do you have updated immunizations? You know, proof of your residency. And a lot of our families couldn't provide those things for multitude of reasons. You know, I mean, just think about it. If you lose your house in a fire, and then you have to go live somewhere else, you may not have 2 proofs of residency at that point in time to register your child. So there was this whole community of children that were not being able to go to school, which was just tragic. So two senators, Senator McKinney and Senator Vento, found this out, and they passed a law and removing those types of barriers for families to get their children registered for school. So
Great.
that law went into effect many, many years ago, and it was an unfunded mandate. And then, like I said, going back to when President Obama and there was, they didn't call it stimulus money back then, but he was trying to stimulate the economy. He had what they call ARA funds. And the ARA funds actually were used to put money towards the McKinney-Vento program. And that's where it filtered down to the school district, so they were able to hire a McKinney-Vento representative to make sure that those students their rights were being upheld, and that we were training our registrars at our schools to be able to get those kids in school and registered. Without that paperwork immediately, we would get it later.
Okay.
So we would always get their birth certificates later, we would always get their shot records later, and we'd always get them an address later. But at least they got into school, and that was what the most important thing about this law was getting those kids into school when they needed to be there.
And what do you call that program again?
So that was the McKinney-Vento Act,
Okay.
which is a law, a federal law. And like I said, then I was hired to make sure that law was enforced at our school districts and to set up all kinds of well, not all kinds of programs, but to set up the program that would include the identification of our students, which is our biggest thing, is to be able to identify the students and then get them into our system so we can provide them with the services they need and remove any kind of barriers that they need. So we became their true advocates to make sure that they had somebody there to support what they were going through.
Now, are these the foster kids or the homeless kids?
These are our students in transition, our homeless students. And one of the things that is really interesting about the word homeless is we all have misconceptions or visualizations of what a homeless person looks like. But we actually have more homeless students than we have actually homeless people actually on the streets.
Wow.
Because I always refer to our students as the hidden homeless. Now, one of the things I want to make sure that we're very clear on, and that is there's two federal definitions of homelessness. The first definition is used by HUD, and basically you have to be 100% living on the street, no roof over your head, not even in a car, no shelter whatsoever. That is the HUD definition of homeless. Wow. But the McKinney-Vento definition of homeless is much, much broader. And basically, they have to say a child or family may not have a fixed, regular, or adequate nighttime residence. And so that could be something, for example, if it's not fixed, then that's usually a house. Or if that's, most people don't have, that are in a homeless situation, they could be living in their car, they could be living in a travel trailer or a motor home that's not fixed to the ground.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean, I don't want to make sure that we have very clear standards here. Just because you're living in a travel trailer or a motor home does not automatically say that you're homeless. That is not the definition. But if there's economic hardship behind that, or if it is not adequate, so you don't have adequate plumbing, water, air conditioning, things like that, then it could be.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. So there's the fixed. And then the regular part is where most of our families here in Nye County and Pahrump come into. And that is that it's not regular. So a lot of the times they're living in a double-up situation. They're living in somebody else's home, which is not a regular nighttime residence.
Okay.
Consider that.
I'm very glad you clarified that on the mobile home, because there are some mobile homes that are nicer than the other homes.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad you clarified that.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's really important, because people just assume that, because I live in a travel trailer, I'm homeless. No, that is not the case at all.
Okay.
Believe me, I just bought a motorhome, and I know that some of the motorhomes are worth more than my first house. So
Yes. So I've looked at them. In fact, when I was as a second lieutenant, that's what I lived in, and I loved it.
yeah,
So,
absolutely. So no, it's There has to be an economic hardship that's also attached to these definitions of fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residents. So if you're just living in those places because you enjoy it and that's the best thing for your family, then that obviously is not considered in a homeless situation. Yeah.
So students in transition, homeless, and fostering connections, there's a lot to those.
There is. There's a lot to making sure that we're identifying those families in the right way and that we're providing those services to them in the right way. We don't want to, we're not going to blanket identify somebody just because they come in. We actually dig into it a little bit to make sure that those families that are in need are the ones that we're actually servicing.
Okay. How many kids, when we talk about numbers of students, number of children, how many numbers are we talking about?
So this year, believe it or not, we've had the lowest numbers that we've ever had in the last 15 years. Since the program came into existence, we really started doing a lot for identifying the kids. And over the past about 10 years, we have been slowly etching up. But this year is the first year that we've really had a drop. And people are shocked over that because you would think this would be the biggest year of identification. Right now we're at 259 kids. We average around 300 children about every year, 300 to 500 children every year. But we're at 259 this year.
Why are we at such a low number?
So the big thing for our programs are our identification. And if kids aren't in school, we can't identify them.
Gotcha, okay.
And of course, that's what happened this year. You know, our kids were in school, so we were unable to identify the kids.
And that will do it. We still have kids that are going to be in need, so we expect these numbers to go back up.
They're already, believe it or not, since the kids have been back into school, our numbers have actually gone up. We saw a sharper increase where normally we would see it to start to slow down. We've actually had a sharper increase at the end of the school year. But still, numbers are really, really low. And I actually just got a phone call just the other day from a family saying, oh gosh, you know, I didn't know that, you know, and we just found them. So, yeah.
The main thing we're doing is taking care of the children. And now that they're getting back in school, now that the COVID scare is, I won't say over, but it's going down, so that now we can take care of our kids again.
Absolutely.
So those kids that are foster kids, or whether they're homeless, the ones in transition, these are the ones that Linda is talking about, and these are the ones she's taking care of. So we just need to make sure that we continue doing the job. But if you have any questions or anything, be sure to contact Linda so you can say, look, I'd just like information on this, or I would like information on that. And we'll be providing more contact information in our next session when we also talk about pre-K. So come back and join us.
Good.
Welcome back. This is our final session, and I have Linda Fitzgibbons. She's from NYE County School District, and we've talked about a lot of things already, but we're going to be talking about the pre-K program. So Linda, tell us why the pre-K program is so important.
Oh gosh, where do I begin? It's the foundation of education, let's face it. This is where, you know, there was a poem out there that talked about everything I needed to know in life I learned in kindergarten. Well, honestly, we're knocking that down because kindergarten is not the same today as it used to be. So I now say everything we need to know in life we learn from pre-K. And I'm glad that you're calling it pre-kindergarten because that's truly what it is. It's a pre-kindergarten program. And our program here in the NYE County School District is funded. It is now state funded. 6 years ago, we had a federal fund to get our program started here.
Wow.
And then after 4 years, it switched over to state fund, and I'm very happy to say that our state has stepped up and has bought into pre-K and the importance behind the pre-kindergarten program. This program is grant funded, so it's not open to the general public in the sense that the eligibility for the pre-K program is the child has to be 4 years old by September 30th and meet the income guidelines, which is 200% of poverty. Believe it or not, that's pretty high. And so you meet those two requirements and your children can be part of the program. The program is free of charge. And if you compare that to how much it costs you to put your child in a pre-K program, that is a whopping good deal. But most importantly, they are getting a high quality pre-K program. All of our teachers are licensed through the Department of Education, as well as our parapros are also certified as certified paraprofessionals. So we have high qualified teachers, high qualified parapros. There's 2 adults, a teacher and a parapro in every single one of the classrooms. And the classrooms can only take a maximum of 20 students in that classroom. Yeah. So we also are very fortunate to have AmeriCorps members that are funded out of our grant too. So most of the time there's 3 adults in every single classroom that we have for those children, for those 4-year-olds. And there's some amazing stuff happening in those classrooms. It's a center-based program. It is a play-based program because we all know that children learn by play.
That's absolutely.
You had mentioned when we were chit-chatting earlier the importance that you found from pre-K with your past experience. So I love to hear that because I can tell you about all the great things about the pre-K program and what it does for your child and how it's the jump start and the foundation for your child's education. But I like to hear your story too because I think it's important.
Well, I think most people know that I spent time in the Air Force, well, 32 years. And then after the Air Force, since I had my doctorate degree, I got a job as a teacher in Department of Defense dependent schools in Germany. And I spent 10 years in Germany. But then from teacher, I moved into administration. But one of the things I found for Department of Defense dependent schools was they talked about the pre-K program and the full-day kindergarten program, and they fought it because they were thinking it would cost too much money. Taxpayer money, we have to be very careful about how we spend that. And so they fought it and fought it. But then they decided, let's give it a try. And maybe they were looking for failure. I don't know what they were looking for, but they gave it a try. Pre-K program and the full-day kindergarten program, it made so much sense. Here are kids now moving into first grade and head and shoulders above where we were when we were in kindergarten. So it was such a successful program, and now they have it throughout Department of Defense because it not only benefits those students at that time, but it benefits our country. It benefits our economy. This is, as Linda just said, that's the foundation of education. So now these kids are coming in and they're a lot smarter than we were at that same age. So I'm very proud of it. And when I hear Linda talk about the pre-K program, I'm just excited about all the things that I saw in the success in the Department of Defense Dependent Schools program.
Thanks for sharing that. Because like I said, I always say these things, but I love it when I hear stories about from people that aren't normally in the business, so to speak, talk about the importance of the pre-K program. Once again, we're here. Something that I'm very, very proud of that we just recently did is that when we went from a federal program to a state-funded program, we had in every single elementary school, we had 2 pre-K classrooms. And after Mr. Norton, just before Mr. Norton, our previous superintendent left, he saw the vision of bringing together all of those pre-K classrooms into one location. So 2 years ago, He opened the doors and dusted it off of the old Mount Charleston Elementary School. So in Pahrump, all of our pre-K classrooms are at Mount Charleston Elementary School, which is probably the most centralized location of elementary schools here in Pahrump. And the other thing that he did too, and that we did, was we brought in early childhood special ed classrooms too, which has our 3-year-old students. So we have 3-year-olds in early childhood special ed and some 4-year-olds. And then we also have, like I said, the grant-funded pre-K program for 4-year-olds. So it is a beautiful, just a beautiful thing to have all of these littles in one location. We are truly focused on what is important for that 4-year-old in their developmental life at this point in time. And so that's been probably, for me, I'm getting ready to retire, and that has been my, what is the word I'm looking for? It has always been my dream. And I see it going forward, and with what the political climate is talking about universal pre-K, I can see Nye County is ready to roll with that and bring in all our 4-year-olds regardless of income and help those kids out. I think it's a game changer for our educational process going forward. I really do.
How many of you out there knew that? When we talk about Mount Charleston, you know, I try to stay up on everything happening in the Nye County School District. And some of the things Linda just said, I didn't know. So I'm sure some of you out there didn't know it either. So, but Linda, if they have questions about this, how can they get in touch with you to ask questions?
So at Mount Charleston Elementary School, they're taking all their own intakes there. So you can call them at 727-7892. Once again, that number is 727-7892. It's as easy as picking up the phone and saying, hey, I've got a 4-year-old, or I'm going to have a 4-year-old, because believe me, I have put 2-year-olds on our waiting list. So if you just want to call and get some more information about the program and see if you actually qualify, they will pre-qualify you over the phone and then let you know what the next step is going to be. So I would encourage everybody, our school's getting out this week, but the secretaries are still there, so I would encourage you to make that phone call as soon as you possibly can. We have lots of openings for our next school year, so pick up the phone. They'll ask you some questions, and then I would say be prepared with knowing how much your income base is, and it's all based upon the number of people in the household versus your income. And then, like I said, know that for this next school year that our cutoff point is September 30th. So as long as your child is going to be 4 years old by September 30th, they would be eligible for at least the age portion of it. So just give them a call and they will let you know if you do qualify. They will pre-register you over the phone, and then they'll let you know the next steps.
Now give us that number again. It's the 775 area code, but give us the number one more time.
775-727-7892. I had to do it with my fingers.
Okay. Now you know that you can go ahead and contact them if you have a child, or if you just want information and find out more about it that way. The other thing Linda said that catching everybody off guard is the fact she's planning to retire. Since I've been here, anytime I needed any information, I contact Linda or the superintendent. And so you can tell how important she is. It's Linda or the superintendent, not somebody else. And that way I found out exactly what's going on in Nye County School District. And so far I haven't had any superintendents on. I know we have our current superintendent, and he's agreed to appear on the TV show. Yes. But right now he's very tied up. But we needed information, so I contacted Linda, and she said, I'll be very glad to be there, and she's here. So Linda, yeah, I hate to think about you retiring. I know somebody out there is going to replace you, and we just hope that they're just half as good as you are.
Well, I really do appreciate it. I have dedicated the last 25 years to the Nye County School District, and I'm very happy to do that. I am a type of person that you give me nothing and I like to make something out of it. And so we all know this, though. We all know that there's not any one person that is irreplaceable, and I feel that way. So whoever comes along, I'm sure is going to do an amazing job. Not only that, I did not do any of these programs on my own by far. We have an amazing staff at our pre-K program. We have amazing points of contact at every single school that provide those services for our McKinney-Vento Students in Transition program. So I'm just the mouthpiece, honestly. I'm the one that keeps up on things, and I'm the one person that you may be able to call, but there is hundreds of people that are, as you well know, coming from the military. You know, we may be a figurehead, but I'm telling you, there's hundreds of people behind us all the time at making those decisions and making our program amazing. Thank you to the teachers, to the parapros. Thank you to my supervisors over the years. Thank you to the community that has been amazing with their donations to the McKinney-Vento program, with their donations to the pre-K program. The Rotary's been amazing. Rump Nugget's been amazing. The Elks Club, which has donated shoes for our children every single year, has been amazing. The Women of the Moose just donated $500. I mean, Seroptimus. I could go on and on and on with all of the things that our community has done for our McKinney-Vento Students in Transition program, and now for our pre-K program over at Mount Charleston Elementary School. So thank you very much.
This has been great, and we're out of time again, but we want you to come back and join us next month because we'll have another show. Thank you.
Thank you.